Welcome back, everybody, to the Brooklynite TV podcast. I'm your host, Frank, and today I'm going to talk about a pressing issue affecting our society, and that's censorship and shadow banning on social media platforms. In an age where digital communication is integral to public discourse, these practices not only undermine free expression, but also raise serious concerns about the First Amendment. This is a topic everybody should agree on, but they don't. The foundation of a democracy rests on the principles of free speech and open dialogue. However, the rise of social media has brought about a new era of censorship, often justified under the guise of curbing free speech, unliked information, and in opposition to political beliefs. But at what cost, everybody? At what cost? The implications of these actions extend far beyond individual posts and tweets. They challenge our understanding of free speech and the fundamental rights granted to us as citizens. Censorship, in its broadest sense, involves suppressing speech that is deemed offensive, dangerous, or politically incorrect. It's a concept as old as time, with various forms throughout history, from book burnings to suppression of dissenting voices in totalitarian regimes. However, in our digital age, the focus has shifted to social media platforms, which serves as a modern public square where ideas and opinions are shared. In recent years, these platforms have implemented increasingly strict moderation policies. The intent is often notable, to create safe environment for users, but the methods employed can result in significant overreach. Shadow banning, a particularly insidious form of censorship, involves restricting a user's content visibility without their knowledge. This practice can silence dissenting voices and create a chilling effect where users self-censor out of fear of being banned or limited in their reach. The problem is compounded by the fact that the algorithms governing these platforms are often opaque, leading to confusion and frustration amongst users. The mechanisms of censorship and shadow banning are multifaceted, with algorithmic content moderation playing a significant role. Social media companies employ complex algorithms to curate the content users see. Now, while these algorithms are designed to enhance user experience by prioritizing relevant content, they often inadvertently suppress marginalized voices. For instance, posts that challenge the status quo or present alternative viewpoints may be deprioritized, leaving users to a narrow view of reality. This not only affects individual users, but also shapes public discourse at large. Moreover, social media companies have established vague content moderation policies, which could lead to inconsistent enforcement. This inconsistency breeds distrust amongst users and creates an environment where self-censorship becomes a survival mechanism. Suspending accounts without clear justification is another tactic employed by social media platforms that exacerbates the climate of fear surrounding free expression. Users often find their accounts suspended with little to no explanation, leaving them in the dark about the reasons behind the action. This lack of transparency creates an environment where individuals are reluctant to share their thoughts, knowing their voices could be silenced at any moment without due process. Such arbitrary suspensions not only disrupt personal and professional communications, but also serves as a warning to others: speak out at your own risk. This chilling effect stifles open dialogue and dissent, further entrenching the power dynamics within these platforms. Now, until there's concrete regulations requiring platforms to provide clear reasons for account suspensions and an avenue for users to appeal these decisions, the practice will continue to undermine the principles of free speech and democracy. It is crucial that we recognize these tactics for what they are: complete bullshit, strategies that silence dissent and curtail the vibrant discourse necessary for a healthy society. The chilling effect of censorship cannot be overstated. When individuals fear repercussions for expressing their views, the vibrant exchange of ideas that democracy thrives on can begin to wither. The suppression of speech stifles debates and discussions, leading to homogenization of thought that is antithetical to a healthy democracy. Furthermore, this environment can lead to the polarization of public discourse, where individuals retreat into echo chambers. They surround themselves with like-minded individuals, reinforcing their beliefs without being challenged in any way. This is an isolation, and this isolation can exacerbate social divisions, making it increasingly difficult for people to engage in constructive dialogue across differing perspectives. Trust in social media platforms is also eroded by perceived biases in moderation practices. When users sense that their voices are being silenced or that their opinions are systematically suppressed, disillusionment can spread. This disillusionment extends beyond the platforms themselves and can seep into public trust in democratic institutions. If citizens feel that their ability to express their views is under threat, they may disengage from political processes, further weakening the foundation of democracy. The fear of being shadow banned or censored often leads users to temper their opinion, impacting the diversity of thought that is critical in a democratic society. Now let's discuss the implications of censorship and shadow banning through the lens of the First Amendment. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech, but how does this apply to the context of private social media companies? They've been getting away with it for far too long. Critics argue that these platforms function as public squares where ideals should flow freely without undue restrictions. This perspective posits that principles of the First Amendment should extend to social media given its role in facilitating public discourse. Legal experts have begun to examine the application of the First Amendment in this context, with some suggesting that the lack of transparency in content moderation practices can lead to abuse that infringe upon constitutional rights. Recent legal challenges have brought this issue to the forefront. As users contest the decisions made by social media companies, courts are grappling with the extent to which these companies can regulate speech without violating the First Amendment. Some argue that while social media companies have the right to set their own rules, there must be checks and balances to prevent arbitrary censorship. This is especially critical in a time when misinformation is rampant and the stakes are high during election cycles like we have now and significant social events. To address the challenges posed by censorship and shadow banning, several solutions can be considered. First, transparency in moderation practices is essential. Social media companies should provide clear guidelines on content moderation and communicate openly about their decision-making processes. Users deserve to know why their content is being restricted and how they can appeal such decisions. Implementing user empowerment tools can further enhance accountability. Providing users with avenues to challenge moderation decisions could foster a more open dialogue and encourage companies to act more judiciously in their enforcement. Regulatory approaches are another avenue worth exploring. Advocates for reform argue that social media platforms should adhere to stricter standards of free speech akin to those imposed on traditional public platforms. This could involve developing regulatory frameworks that ensure fair treatment of diverse viewpoints while still allowing for necessary safeguards against harmful content. Moreover, encouraging the development of alternative social media platforms can provide users with choices, potentially reducing the monopoly that larger platforms hold over public discourse. Now, as we look ahead, it's clear that the current landscape of censorship and shadow banning on social media platforms is unlikely to change without significant legislative action. Until lawmakers step in to establish robust protections for free speech online, we may continue to see these practices erode the very foundation of our democracy. One potential solution is to hold social media companies accountable for their censorship practices, possibly through financial penalties or mandatory reparations for those unjustly silenced. Such measures could deter platforms from engaging in arbitrary content moderation and encourage them to create transparent, fair policies that respect a user's rights. If social media companies face substantial repercussions for infringing upon the free speech rights of individuals, it could pave the way for a more balanced digital public square where diverse viewpoints can flourish. This is not just an abstract concept, it's essential for preserving the essence of what it means to be a free country. For America to truly embody its commitment to free expression, we must push for accountability that ensures all voices have the opportunity to be heard without the fear of censorship. Now, as we wrap up today's discussion, it's important to reflect on the broader implications of censorship and shadow banning. The right to free speech is not just a legal principle, it's a fundamental aspect of our identity as a nation. If we allow censorship to dictate what voices are heard, we risk undermining the very essence of democracy. The fight for free expression in the digital age is ongoing, and it requires vigilance, advocacy, and a commitment to protecting the rights of all individuals. It's crucial for us as citizens to engage in these discussions, to advocate for transparency and accountability, and to ensure that our digital public squares remain open to all voices. So thank you for tuning in to the Brooklynite TV podcast. If you found this episode insightful, please share it with your friends and subscribe for more discussions on the pressing issues shaping our society. Remember to question, engage, and advocate for the principles that uphold our democracy. Again, like, subscribe, and share this with your friends and family. If you like this episode, thank you everybody for listening.